Mr. Chairman. Again, this is a request by Mr. Cole Davis in Acquisition South to rezone approximately 22 acres from its current commercial highway zoning, which you see along Highway 84 West, to a planned development in order to maintain control and provide flexibility to some of the design standards that you see in your site plans a little bit later on. You'll notice this property is within the Community Activity Center, which does recommend both commercial highway and planned developments. You'll also note the Industrial Activity Center to the north there, which has a mixture of PD, M1, and M2 zoning. You see the agricultural area to the south, which is predominantly planted pines. You see a rural residential slightly to the west, and a suburban to the northeast, that is block-based subdivision. And then you see another industrial activity center down on Rocky Ford. There are no current wetlands on this property. So from the concern there is none. And again, this is the applicant's site plan, which again, I'll show you some of the notes here. They are proposing a mixture of buildings, predominantly 10,000 square feet, with some flexibility of 20,000. And then you notice the stormwater management area, which is to the top of the screen, is actually to the east. There's a proposed county road there being shared with the current tenant to the south, which is under tractor under development right now. And again, these are some of the self-imposed notes from the applicant based on their site plan. Again, allowing the individual buildings to be subdivided on single parcels. Any lots, again, that aren't developed by the time some of these conditions are met, they're maxed out at 350,000 square feet. Again, they revert to a common area. Each building, again, connected to county utilities, all internal drives, 24 foot, 473 parking spaces depicted. Again, this was provided by the applicant for unknown uses, all shared and owned by the owner of the development. Again, condition 6 basically says it will conform with the ULDC for planned developments. Any site lighting directed away from adjacent properties. Condition 8 is the maximum total square footage of 350,000. The site plan you saw just a moment ago doesn't necessarily meet that. However, again, flexibility of design. And they propose no single building exceeding 100,000 square feet. Condition 9, maximum building height shall be 60 feet for all buildings located within 120 feet of Highway 84. 60 feet is the permitted use in commercial highway. All other buildings being capped at 45 feet maximum height. And then again, if an individual user requires outdoor storage, it shall be fully screened from adjacent properties. And development shall have a buffer consistent with 40706. And the development shall have a 24-foot ingress-egress easement to the east for future development. So, we talk about some flexibility. Here's just an example. If you were to combine some of the proposed lots, the 4 you see there in the middle, that's approximately 50,000 square feet, more or less. The one to the north, again, maybe 45,000 square feet, maybe 50. And then again, just an example, flexibility under the design for 20, 25,000 square foot building there in the south. With that being said, some of the conditions we talked about, 120. The area you see in kind of this pinkish red is actually the corridor overlay. So that 120 feet off of 84 to allow for 60 feet in height would cover those first 3 buildings, or if a single user came in and wanted to buy all the frontage and propose a 100,000 square foot building, that would be allowed under this site plan. 120 feet covers the majority of those buildings, but if, again, that condition changed to 200 feet or buildings within the corridor overlay could be at 60 feet. That is something, again, staff has considered as far as potential modifications to one of the conditions there. This is the overall kind of development for that area. You notice the winter tractor to the south, and again, the applicant's development with the stormwater on the site there. So, with that being said, TRC did analyze this, looking at the neighboring land uses like we talked about, industrial and commercial, the availability of county utilities in this area, the light and noise concerns for such commercial development. They allow the uses in CH zonings and the details and scale of the proposed development here, and therefore recommended approval of the PD request per the site plan.
So you are recommending the approval of the site plan with the conditions self-imposed included on the site plan?
Correct.
Okay. So those notes would be made conditions to the...
Correct.
To the... Okay.
If I may ask you, on the east side, that's my only concern with this whole thing is that, talking about a trailer park, and there was violation of disturbing of the, not getting a permit to disturb the trees, and so it's right up to the line. What is the buffer you're talking about? Is that going to be a fence there? Because that's what my concern, because we got such a large, retention pond and going right up against the mobile home.
Yes. Between multifamily and commercial is generally 30 feet. Again, that 30 feet buffer can be reduced down to 15 with a fence. Again, it's not required that a fence be installed, but I would imagine the applicant, in order to maximize space, might be favorable to a fence, but the applicant is here and can answer that question better. But it is not a county requirement that a fence be installed.
Yeah, I think it's fine, that's, I'm just got that one concern because of the such big retention pond and the safety of kids from that mobile home park next to it.
Since we don't have the zoning in front of us, kind of give me an idea of what's allowed in that zoning, PD zoning.
PD zone?
Yeah,
Well, right now, it's use is allowed under the commercial highway.
okay.
And
So he wants PD in commercial highway.
yes, to
Gotcha.
allow flexibility of the overall site,
Yeah,
because
gotcha.
under commercial highway, he would have to create numerous flag lots, and it
Yep.
one would be a plating issue, so that's why the plan calls it.
Couple things there, yeah. For me, one, I'm not a big fan of getting, information in, a few minutes before we meet to discuss, because it really doesn't give us much of an opportunity to look at information. And, also looking at the past history, with us having an understanding that the applicant, went ahead and did the disturbance without the appropriate prior approvals. It's kind of one of these things where we're looking at and making a determination about something, and we don't have all the answers. So it's easy to say, oh yeah, I was gonna do this, but however, and we're not able to really understand that and see that before we get to a situation where we're actually having to vote on things. And that concerns me a great deal, because of past performance, the history that's already been shown has been a disregard for permitting. It's been a disregard for some of the rules. So, great, we self-impose certain restrictions and limitations. However, we are looking at, well, if this is not done, as you kind of mentioned, whether there's a fence that's installed or not, that's again left up to the applicant, but we still have these residences that were there prior to this. And looking at concerns for the community, we're not really, it's kind of we vote for this to approve and our hands are tied, and we haven't had a good chance to really look in and do discovery to see what's fully taking place. But I know some of the other commissioners have already mentioned the potential of fencing, and you've identified how, I guess the applicant was looking at kind of a workaround for replacing some trees, some of the trees that were disturbed based on some of the guidelines. So, it's just one of those things for us to consider. I'd like to have a little bit more information to know. I think in our discussion, you also mentioned about building heights and some of the differences there. Do we have any guidance on that?
60 feet is allowed in commercial highway by right. Again, the applicant is proposing 60 feet within 120 feet of US 84 and no more than 45 feet for buildings outside of that height. So,
JD, this rezoning request, did we post it? If so, when did we post it to the public?
this was posted a week or so ago after the planning commission work session. I was
The
able to
next
get
day,
out.
I think.
A week ago?
Yes, sir.
And what's the standard, the regulation on it?
Prior to the board of commissioners meeting, which is on March 10th, no less than 15 days, no more than 45 days. This is the legal standard. So, that criteria has been met with posting the signs.
But it wasn't posted prior to our work session?
No,
It's
sir.
a week today, it's a week.
JD, going back to the work session, did we have a discussion about the ingress and egress from 84 going through some of the neighboring properties as opposed to directly into the property, or did I just?
That's the only entrance that they're going to get on 84. It will require a decel lane there. It's my understanding that the buyer that purchased the adjacent property is supposed to put in that decel decel lane based on the price that he paid for his parcel, and he's also supposed to bore under 84 to attach the water and sewer, which is on the other side of the street. But that's kind of outside.
So they were gonna share a common street or whatever between the two, correct?
Okay.
So is there a second corner? That's the only one?
That is the only one that they're going to get from the DOT.
And that's for both properties?
Correct.
Oh.
And it splits the property line in between the two properties. My question was about, so it requires a 30-foot buffer, is that
30 foot between commercial and multifamily.
multifamily?
Multifamily, which technically
That
a
is
home park
considered
is,
multifamily.
yes.
So the stormwater management area looks like it takes up that entire space.
Again, the applicant and the engineer are here, and might do a better answer that question, but yes, that is still a requirement under GLPC.
Okay.
And JD, I think I'm going back to the work session again, you did comment in the work session, I believe, if I'm wrong, please tell me, but that there were some issues to permitting for removing the trees, but in the end, the applicant was actually able to get some type of permit to a different department of the county, or did I read that as well?
Correct. Again, that is a separate bug-related issue, yes, the applicant is
That
proposing
he's
to
resolving.
mitigate the 400 inches of trees that were estimated to be removed. It's not shown on this particular site plan, but again, that is the condition of approval.
Okay.
Regardless.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in favor of this case?
Bill Hodgson, 2007 North Patterson Street, here on behalf of the applicant. Mr. McCall, Mr. Dutch, welcome aboard. We appreciate your service. Good to see some new faces. So, thank you, Mr. Dillard. I think you covered 90% of it. There were a lot of questions already, but obviously CH zone, PD is the request, and really just to make this design more flexible, more efficient with planning. I am happy to answer any questions you have. I understand the sensitivity to the multifamily to the east. We were actually talking about that beforehand with my applicant, my client, and the engineer. And this PD plan does not show it, but I believe the engineering plan do contemplate a fence going along that property line, which my client's happy to put in and anticipate putting in to go along the property line of the manufactured housing lot. So,
So you would have a problem with the condition?
no, we will not, if that wants to be a condition put in, yeah. So I know that was one concern. If there are any others, I'm happy to try and answer them and address them. And if I can't, and there are more technical questions with the development itself, the engineer Bill Kim is here and can help me with those.
No further questions?
I think we would ask, for some clarity too, on the fence. I don't know if we want that fence. You'll see, Mr. Dillard, if you'll put the aerial back up. You can sort of see it. The mobile home parcel doesn't run all the way out to 84. It runs about 60% of the way out. And so I don't know if the fence, you want the fence to run all the way out to 84, or if we just want to stop it at that, where the field starts on the eastern side. So,
What is the front part of that piece zoned in front of the mobile home?
It's commercial highway, it's currently used as a laydown yard for the fiber internet being installed.
so I just point that out in terms of the condition. If there are other questions, I'll take a seat.
Thank you, Mr. Najim.
Thank you.
Come on up, Mr. Kim.
Bill Kemp, Innovate Engineering and Surveying, 2214 North Patterson Street. Just to clarify a couple of issues, the interconnection with the neighboring property, that's actually going to become a county road. So it's not a long driveway, it will be a county road that all of these properties that's why there's no other drives or entries shown to 84. And then on the tree or the trees that were removed, we prepared a tree replacement plan. It has been approved by the county, based on the inches of trees removed. So that issue has been resolved. So, just want to put that out.
Go ahead.
So I wanna clarify the drive, it's a road,
It's
I know
on the
that's
county.
a road between the Kubota and this development.
Yes.
It's going all the way in there, that will be the point of ingress and egress with roads running off of it.
Correct.
Okay.
Can you speak to
That makes a whole
the,
lot of sense.
go ahead. Can you speak to the water retention and the
Yeah,
buffer zone that's there along the east side?
Welcome to South Georgia. We're very flat out here. So stormwater is based on volume. So this pond, it looks large. It's a large development, but mostly it's because of the lack of slope, if you will, on the land. So with the buffer, if we need to shave a little bit of that pond, we've got plenty of land to take care of. We just have to control the flow post-develop to pre-develop rates.
And it does slightly slope to the railroad tracks. So,
The land existing, actually in the middle, part of it goes to 84, part of it goes to the railroad tracks. When this is all said and done, all discharge will be out toward 84.
okay.
There will be a structure out up in front, at 84 with a pipe coming out, discharging into I say roadside ditch. The ditch is actually on private property, but it's the ditch along 84. Yes.
Looking at the plans, I don't know if what's depicted is fence line around the perimeter of the perimeter of
Those little dash lines you see, that's a graphical thing. That's just depicting the water line.
So, that being said, the option to carry that fence line, because even if we were to stop the fence line at the backside of the mobile home park there, be nothing for some kids to get around that and or some adult to get around and get to the pond itself. Is that something that they're open to consider?
I believe so.
I think he said that they would agree to that.
Right. Yes.
And any retention will have to be fenced.
Correct.
So my next question, is this a retention pond or detention pond?
It's retention.
It's retention.
It's a combination. It will hold water, only to control vegetation and pests, mosquitoes. So it'll have some depth to it that will hold permanent, but the vast majority of it is detention. It'll fill up and drain off.
No further questions? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right. This time, is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition of this project? There being none, any further questions for staff? All right, we will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
would you mind putting the conditions back up there, please, on, is that all of them 12 right there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we recommend approval for REZ-2026-05, and let me see, somehow we don't have the paperwork, from CH Highway Commercial, or we're just adding a plan development to that, or is it completely changing to a plan development?
PD would be the new zoning case
Okay.
with the CH.
From CH2 plan development with the 12 conditions with number 13 being that the eastern boundary and backside of the development to incorporate the holding pond is what I'm concerned with, must be fenced. Is that,
You're not saying fence around the whole holding pond, you're just
No.
saying on the eastern border.
eastern
Okay.
and
Eastern and southern.
southern, right, till it encompasses, I think you said that it was gonna be fenced anyway, the retention pond, right?
To a certain point. Can you go
So
back to
it-
that?
What you're asking is to add, for us to add an
Enough to
addition
tie
to
to it to keep kids
Yes.
from walking around there.
Yeah,
Not adding all the way around the whole property, I'm just saying on the eastern side and on the back side till it hits the retention pond where the normal fence, if I understand right, is gonna go.
along the railroad.
Not all the way across, just to the retention pond.
I have one question, this may or may not be from the applicant's engineer. One of the conditions regards the 24-foot ingress to the east, which is currently about where that yellow box is on your screen. That is required in the corridor overlay here. They are currently showing their stormwater retention going through that portion. Are you wanting the fenced portion to go all the way through or to stop at that the parcel line, which is 400 feet deep based on the corridor overlay?
If that, now that I see what you're saying now, if that retention pond comes all the way out to 84, I think the fence should come all the way out to the end of the retention pond.
Okay.
Because if you start 60% up right there, the kids are still gonna be able to walk in there and get in that pond.
I understand, I'm just saying if future development comes in and all of a sudden they have to interconnect, who's responsible for that fence?
On which now, I'm not following.
The adjacent
In the
parcel
court.
to the east.
To the east there?
Okay,
I'm not worried about that, I'm worried about the retention pond
understood.
right now. I'm glad you brought that, because you said 60% a while ago, but you got the pond that's coming on all the way to the end out there, the retention pond, so there's some exposure there for some liability and kids from the mobile home park be exploring and fall into that pond, and I don't want to be the one to vote on that there, so.
All right.
Can we just simplify it to say the east side of the property?
Sounds good to me.
Joins the retention pond,
Yes.
not coming across the back of the property with the railroad.
Not all the way, but just to where it ties into
If
the
that, if
pond.
that's suitable for you, is that?
All
Okay,
I'm concerned about the pond, I ain't worried about fencing other places.
so we have a motion with the 12 included, plus the additional number 13, that includes fencing down the east side and to the retention pond in the rear.
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Bythewood. All in favor? That is unanimous.